Did Adam Peters just show his hand as to what he is looking to do with the Washington Commanders in this upcoming NFL draft? We're going to be talking about an article that has the Washington Commanders linked to a defensive prospect, and we're going to be talking about if this would be a good fit for the Washington Commanders if this player is available in this upcoming NFL draft. And so before we go ahead and jump into the content, I first wanted to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button like Jaden Daniels is going to be hitting wide receivers this upcoming season for multiple touchdowns. And so in exchange for that subscribe, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Washington Commanders. And so make sure that you go ahead and you hit that subscribe button and become a part of the Washington Commanders insider family here, as we will be talking about nothing but the Washington Commanders. And so let's go ahead and jump into the content for today. And so you can find this particular article on Rigo's Rag, and it's talking about the Commanders set a meeting with Dream Day 3 prospect before the 2025 NFL draft. And so within this article, it takes you down to an excerpt that I guess this is Tony Pauline of Sportskeeda who wrote this. And he is talking about how cornerback Quincy Reily is scheduled for a 30 visit with the Washington Commanders and the Carolina Panthers. And so the significance of that is that when you are doing a 30 visit, and for those who don't know, what that means is that that's where teams can meet with players to find out about them a little bit more. And so that means generally, you're doing like maybe these are some of the players that are on your top 30 list here. And so this right here lets us know that if this is true, that the Commanders are certainly interested into Quincy Reily. And so Quincy Reily is a cornerback that plays or played for the University of Louisville. And I tell you this, there's a lot of things to like about him. And so from what I'm reading, it looks like that he might be either one of the best ball hawking corners in this draft, if not the best with what he's able to do. And so let's start with the things that he's been just terrific at. And that starts with just his ability to attack the ball. I think that whenever it's in the air, he's always looking to attack and make the play. And so I would say that this is a corner that is absolutely looking to try to get a huge home run play. And so he is always going to be trying to get that huge turnover. I do love that about him. Next, he is a ball hawking corner. I think that for sure he is a player that, look, if he can just track the football, he is literally not just trying to bat it down. He is trying to catch that thing and take it the opposite way. And so I do love that about him, his ability to attack the football, and then he's a ball hawk. And so I think that those two things really go together. But those are the things that really stand out when you look at his tape. And so next, I think that this is one of the reasons why I certainly would definitely like to take a chance on him if he is available. It's because that even if he doesn't necessarily pan out as a day one starter, he could really impact your football team because he can go out and he has the ability to be a punt returner. So he can definitely be in the special teams game. You can either put him in as a punt returner, or you could even throw him back there for kickoffs, right? And he could still make a play, and he has plenty of speed. Now, he didn't break for any touchdowns or anything like that, but I do like how he will catch the ball and he seems to get up the field in a hurry. And so I do like that about him, especially when it comes down to the return game and things like that. Look, any amount of yards that you get in special teams, that can be huge to winning a game and really flipping the field. And so that is another thing to like about him. Next up, look, his closing speed. I thought that it was terrific. I think that there's several times you're looking at just his tape. And look, there's times where he's closing down on the ball and closing down on the wide receiver. And so I do love that about him. He looks like he has some track speed that certainly translates on the football field. So you love that with his ability to track down that ball, even if he's beat a little bit, it seems like that he's able to get back into the play. And so that's huge. Next up, look, this is another thing that just goes with the ball hawking ability, his ability to force turnovers. I thought that when you look at his statistics, that is something that certainly jumps out. And so, look, he is a 6-year player. His last year was with Louisville here in 2024. He started in 2019 with Middle Tennessee, and then he eventually transferred over to Louisville. But look, by year 2, he had 2 interceptions. Then he had 5 interceptions. Then he had 3 interceptions, then 3, then 2 this last year. And so this is a player that he will get turnovers. And so you do love that about him, is his ability to generate these turnovers. Now, he only had 1 forced fumble, but still. Then when you look at his tackling ability, that also went up. Obviously, getting more reps and things like that. He went from just the 3 total tackles all the way up to 33 this last season with 12 assists. And so that was good to see with his ability to come up and tackle. And then when you look at his passes defended, this was actually one of his better years as far as deflections and things like that. I think he had about 9 on the year, 10 in 2023. And so that goes into what we're talking about with just his ability to kind of get back into the play. And finally, I think another thing that he does well is he does bait you into some throws, because I was looking at one of his plays, I guess, where he's playing, I believe it's Clemson. And you can just tell that he's out of the play, and it looks like that the wide receiver is open, and it doesn't look like he's going to get back into the play, and he does get back into the play. And so I think that, probably that is part of just him just trying to get you to throw into that window. And then the next thing you know, he's breaking on the football and he's intercepting it. And so he didn't get the interceptions there, but still, I can see how you would think that you have an opening and then he baits you into a throw, and then the next thing you know, it's going the opposite way. And so I do like that with him. Now, in looking at the NFL draft buzz and just looking at just the downside to maybe what you could be facing with picking him up, is one, they talk about the fact that he's a bit undersized. And so with that being said, I mean, when you look at his measurables here, it looks like that he's 6 feet, 195. And so with being, I guess, just maybe a little undersized, then he's going to have to battle with the physicality up front with some of these physical wide receivers. And so you wonder, is he going to be okay in these bump and run situations and really playing some elite man coverage that way? Can he figure that out? Number 2, this is where I'm a bit concerned when they talk about him coming up and being a good player that can support you into the run. And so it looks like that one of the things that they're saying is he kind of doesn't get off the blocks very well. I also read too, I think, just on another profile saying that, look, he sometimes maybe dives a little bit at the feet and stuff like that versus coming up and giving you a solid tackle as well. And so those are 2 things that I'd say, look, that is something you have to get better at, especially with the Washington Commanders. Look, we didn't do very well against the run, even though I think we're going to be much better this year. Even with the free agents that we have, I think that this would add to it with what we do in the draft. But I think that is a must. And so he'd have to get better there. I think another thing too that was talked about and that I could see it happening. This is just on NFL Draft Buzz talking about him being aggressive. And so we have been talking about that. And so that could lead to 1, penalties, 2, it could lead to big plays. And so the Washington Commanders generally did not give up big plays last year. And so, I do like the aggressive nature, and I would welcome it. And I would love a player that is going to come in and try to generate the turnovers. And so it's just going to be him learning how to play with a level of control in the secondary and not getting the big penalties and then giving up the splash play. And so I think that would be another thing as well. And then with the speed, I think adjusting to the NFL that's always going to be a challenge really for any player, coming into the league, and especially at the cornerback position, going against elite wide receivers who can run. You're going to have to make those adjustments. But he looks like a player that could easily go ahead and maybe be into press man if he can handle the physicality, and also to zone as well. I think he could be a player that could be fine in both of those things. And that really does kind of fit into, I think, a lot of what Dan Quinn and Coach Witt Jr. are going to want to do on the defensive side of the ball. And so, anyway, let me know in the comments here. Do you think that the Washington Commanders are going to go out and get Quincy Reily, cornerback here out of Louisville? Because once again, according to this article, it's saying that he has a 30 visit scheduled for the Washington Commanders. Obviously, not being a team official, don't know what that the deal is, or if this is official or whatnot. But if it is the case, here's a player that I would say if he's coming off the board in round 3 or round 4, whatever, like I think that this would be a good value pick, and this does make sense for the Washington Commanders, especially when you're talking about the secondary and beefing that up a little bit. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking, and as we always say, go Commanders, and I will see you on the next one. All right, peace.